You've also got a new frog bait, but before we talk about the Pop Frog, maybe for the guys that don't know about your first frog, the Super NATO, give us a little background on the NATO and kind of what you use that frog for.
Yeah, pretty cool. You know, I actually learnt this technique through some California guys, actually through Zaldane. This is probably 5-6 years ago, right before I made the elites, I'm pretty sure. And the California guys, because I actually had lived out there, and that's where I first moved to LA, and we would go up to the Delta. This is where this whole deal originated from. And we would break down a regular frog, and then you would have to customize it and design it and end up, sort of almost destroying a frog to get it right, and then to get this your keeper to come in out of the back and then also not take on water. And it was a bit of a nightmare. And come tournament time, you might design two, and you could ruin them pretty quickly in a tournament, and then you wouldn't have backup. So after a while, it just hadn't come out yet, and I was like, I'm going to do this frog with Molix because it's too good. It's something that I started using everywhere, and just catching so many fish on it. But the real killer, the key, was this tail design that Molix came up with. So we designed the body. They got it soft enough. They got it perfect. They got the right hooks. They got the keeper, and then the two little bits of wire that sort of hold that tail in place. And then we just went through tails, and I'd gone through rage craws. I used to fish a little bit of everything on the back of this, and just try and mix it up. The toad style tail. But what happened is, when I got this tail, the second I twitched it, like a short sharp twitch, it made a chopping sound like that I'd never heard before. And it was so realistic, and the way it sounded, I just started getting bites everywhere. And I started fishing it just like a prop bait. And so there's other frogs out there that work like a buzz style frog, but when you stop, their tail will sink and the frog won't get eaten on the paws. So with this, the frog is going to sit perfectly shaped, flattened out on the paws in the perfect position. So with the whole flattened bottom, the way the tail's designed, it skips literally better than anything you can imagine. Wherever you throw it at, it's going to skip to the back of there, under docks, lay downs, overhangs, anywhere. And then it's going to sit there, and then you can buzz it, you can wind it, and it's going to make the perfect toad noise. And then you're going to kill it, stop, and then give it a couple of short, sharp twitches, and it's going to make that chopping sound. And they just honestly can't resist it. In some of the most heavy pressured waters that I've fished, this frog is getting eaten, Chickamauga, everywhere, over grass. And then when you're in lily pads or mats, you can buzz it, you can wind it, and then when you hit that hole or that spot where you think they're going to be, you can kill it, and they're going to eat it on the paws. 90% of my bites on this frog are on the paws, and it is all to do with the design of this tail. It's so realistic, and the sound of it is a very panicked baitfish, bluegill style chopping sound. And you'll throw it underneath, you'll chop it, nothing, you'll go and you'll just start winding it back, and a fish will blow up on it and eat it. And I said about the Molix, the glide bait, people tagging me. This thing has been super cool through social media. I have hundreds and hundreds of people tagging me non-stop. And the frog eater guys, he's just fishes for largemouth with frogs, and he caught his PB on this 11.5 pounder just a couple of weeks ago. And I'm just getting tagged in so many kids and all sorts, because it's so easy to use. Just throw it out, wind it back, and they'll blow up on it. Twitch it, blow up on it, and then use it in, the Elite Series style tournaments, and really get it down to chopping it just like a prop bait. So very cool design, and it's definitely by far the best designed frog that I've come up with, and the most popular bait that I've ever designed. So pretty proud of that one.
That's a lot of good info. Like, I didn't know a lot of that about that bait. The last thing I need is more tackle, especially more frogs. But I think he might have sold me on these ones. So very neat. And I'm almost scared to ask, because you sold me on this one. We don't have a sample here, but you also got a new Pop Frog out, right?
Yeah, so I actually didn't have a ton to do with this one. The frog eater guys that are just the guys on Instagram, they only, basically post and fish with frogs. They actually collaborated with Molix and came up with this popping frog. I've only had 2 for the last couple of weeks, but I put this one to the test at Chickamauga up the little creeks, and pretty blown away. Like, they asked me for my feedback and what needs changing, or if anything needs it, and it's bulletproof. It's ready to roll. The cool thing about Molix, and what I was telling people right now, like the original one that I helped design too, was the sneaky frog. And so between Molix right now, I feel like you've got Super Nardo frog where you can buzz and do about anything with. You got the sneaky frog in a few different sizes, which is like a spook walk bait, and it's a bigger style frog that you can walk and with a single tail, just different, a rat style. And now you got a popping frog. So you can sort of go to Molix and have those 3 different types of frogs and be covered for all over the entire country. The big one that I like is a lot of people go super small with the cut face, and they want that bait to just spit water lightly as it walks. But I actually like to crack a popping frog and get it to really bloop and then sit there. And what I noticed with this one is I could do both. I could give it very small, tiny twitches, and it would walk perfectly and very subtle and quiet and make little tiny spits. But then I could also hit it and get it to really bloop and then just sit there and make a really, really nice loud sound. They've got a great hook in them, but it's all the little things. They've got a little tie up underneath here, so you can put a blade on there. You can put a treble. You can put a trailer out of there if you want to, and then it also comes with a rattle as well. And it's got 8 super realistic designs. The detail in it is incredible, and I set the hook on quite a few 2.5 to 4 pound fish and never pulled the nose through. Just, this is the same bait, and it survived that very easily, and I think it'll crack a lot of fish. They've really put a lot of technology into their frogs, because I worked so hard to get this one right that now they understand how a frog works and how soft it needs to be and not filled with water and all those things. So it skips great. You can get it up under there and you can fish it a bunch of different ways. So it's a very exciting little popping frog from Molix, and I think if you want a frog, you can't go past the Molix brand right now. That's sort of got you covered for everything.
Yeah, it looks like they've got a ton of different designs for a bunch of different situations. Carl, on that frog, one thing I was noticing was how deep the body is. So when you do get bit, you're just going to have a ton of bite with those hooks.
Yeah, I don't know if you can sort of see that, but the hooks are great. They're super sharp. They're not like, I've picked up a fair few frogs and I change the hooks a lot because the hooks are too thick. I don't think on giant fish, trying to reap them out of mats, yeah, I guess. But you actually want a thinner, sharper hook. You want it to penetrate, get up in there, and then not use the force to get them out. Either you go in there and get them, but I prefer to have that super sharp, thinner hook on a frog just to get that penetration, get the gap of that hook in there, and then you can land them. And yeah, I was very impressed with everything about this frog. That's the first 2 I've got. I put them through their paces the last couple of weeks, and yeah, you're gonna love this one.
Very cool. So the Papa Frog is out for pre-order right now. Obviously, you can go and buy the Super NATO Frog right now. Well, if you can, if I don't buy them all myself.